Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. Enjoying a Sunday afternoon. It's not even afternoon yet. It's still morning. But yeah, um, I was listening to some of my old videos on the draft for this particular year. Uh, just assessing what my opinions were maybe a couple months ago. See if they've changed now that I've done a lot more homework on some of the players. And it has in some cases. In other cases, I listen back and say, "Oh yeah, that was an attribute I forgot that player had," or "Whoa, bro, you were way off." So yeah, I really just kind of wanted to get here and talk about some of those things. So the first player I would like to mention is one of my favorite players in this draft, um, and it's Jalen Green. It wasn't at the beginning. Well, like if you go back and listen to my videos, you'll probably say this dude doesn't either like Jalen Green's game or hasn't studied Jalen Green's game enough to really have a full understanding of exactly what that player was about. Um, and I'll admit I hadn't done a lot of homework leading up to this draft. I had a loose understanding of what these players were about. Did some homework, got a little better understanding. A lot of time has passed since, so I've gotten much better understanding about some of these players. And even so, there's still plenty to learn. But in the case of Jalen Green, I don't think I was way off, but I just think that now that I've seen even more footage of him, studied even more footage of him, I now have a much greater appreciation for his ability to be a unicorn player. I always understood him to be athletic, and my opinion was always that you can find more players his height who do the things that he does. Even if they're not as special or as gifted as him, you'll find another one of him. Anthony Edwards, Jaylen Brown are just two of the names that come to mind right away. Super hyper athletic players who could score 30 in their sleep, and if you give them a big role, could probably pretty much rotate in whatever role one another is in. And you take Jalen Green, you put him in Anthony Edwards' role, he's going to do exactly what Anthony Edwards would do with that role, etc., move, so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? All three of those players pretty much comparable in my mind to a degree, but the thing that I think I'm ready to admit is that Jalen Green stands out because of his metrics. He is built like a Giselle. Like people like who I think about like this, like De'Aaron Fox, Giannis Antetokounmpo. There are certain people who, and I know this is gonna sound stupid coming out of my mouth, but there's certain people who look like they're built for aerodynamics. Like their body shape is meant to do things that other people should not be able to do. And I already understood that about Jalen Green, but in watching more of his highlights, studying more of his highlights, just looking at it from a different lens, I now understand. He's not Jaylen Brown because he's more elusive. He's much more athletic than Jaylen Brown. Much more elusive. He's not as powerful as Anthony Edwards, but I would imagine he's wiry. Much more wirier, much faster. Like he's not as powerful as Anthony Edwards, but he's much quicker. And he's going to be able to move in the spots quicker than that. He's just faster, man. That's what I've learned to understand about Jalen Green. He is basically a Giselle, bro. Like, next level athletes. It's a real thing. Evolution is a real thing in this world, man. When you look at guys who are running around today, they're 10 times faster, 10 times more accurate than some of the guys maybe 30, 40 years ago. And you'll see the guys 30, 40 years ago are 10 times more accurate than the guys 30, 40 years previous to that. The game has evolved. The treatment of bodies have evolved. But most importantly, the human, has just evolved. We're getting more adapt to what it is that we've been training to do for generations. And as the game of basketball evolves, football evolves, all these different sports evolve, so too are the players, so too are the people who perform. And I think I look at people like Zion Williamson. We had never seen nothing like Zion before. See something like Giannis, he ain't never seen nothing like Giannis before. Guys like Anthony Edwards just getting stronger and stronger. Guys like Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley move faster than guys their size, pass better than guys their size should be able to. This game is just evolving, and you're seeing the athletes do that. And Jalen Green is yet another evolution of the Tracy McGrady, of the Kobe Bryant, of the Michael Jordan ilk, to where he just comes in and you understand off rip, that he is athletically more gifted than those men I just named. He is more athletic than Kobe, more athletic than Jordan, more athletic than any of these guys. Tracy, he's more athletic. And the reason I would imagine that is just an evolution. He's from a different generation. He's from a generation 2-3 generations past him, or whatever, 2 generations past him. However that's equated. Bodies are stronger now. Bodies are quicker now. Bodies are just lower to the ground, can create more inertia with their jumps and with their moves and stuff like that. And he is one of those examples. One of those examples. As simple as that. So, yeah. Not only that, but I underestimated his efficiency a bit. And also, I want to say that I don't often take into account that I'm looking at players who can incorporate certain things into their game to make what I'm seeing not look the way I'm seeing it. Yes, do I believe players can get better? Of course. But I think it's very important when you're assessing players, particularly rookies, that you understand certain things about their game will improve, and you have to work that into the equation. Scotty Barnes is a good example of that, because I said that he couldn't shoot. I said that he would be a liability from behind the arc. And in the study video that I watched, that was the case. But if you look at some of the footage he had from Summer League, you can clearly see that he's been working on those things and has improved dramatically. So by the time he is a regular rotation player, some of the attributes and things that he was deficient at, he probably won't be deficient at when he gets there. Now, he's never going to be Splash Mountain. He's not going to be some Dirk Nowitzki type guy. But what you can expect from him is to ignore some of those things that they had in those tutorial videos about the player, some of those scouting videos, and understand that the work is being put in, that these guys are in state-of-the-art situations and programs that would allow them to get the most out of their bodies, surrounded by people who are scientists for the game, who will help them with these things a lot more so than players in the past were able to develop and things of that nature. I see less mistakes from these youngsters, better pick and roll play, better reads, better everything. And I want to credit AAU basketball and the cultivation of international basketball. Those 2 things. 3, bringing in the G League, gotta give them some love too. But all of these different basketball outlets that are kind of grooming these kids into athletes, they're just getting better at the science of it all. And Jalen Green, having gone through AAU, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty certain, and then also the G League product, you can clearly see that they have done a good job in helping him get to this level as well. So you can just see that, man. You can see that with that particular player. You can see it with some of these others as well. So that's what I wanted to say, man. Jalen Green's, just to wrap up my conversation about him, I think that I went on record in saying that I would take Jalen Green 4th, right? At this point, I've shuffled some of them names around a little bit. That could change again, because when you could be a prisoner of the moment. I just got through watching Jalen Green highlights. I just got through watching Scotty highlights. I just got through watching Mobley highlights. So it's like maybe I've lost some luster for Cunningham to a degree, but I'm just looking at certain things and I say, well, now that I know more, I'm not sure that Cunningham was as can't miss this year as maybe he would have been any other year ever. Because honestly, Detroit has a superstar in Cade Cunningham. He doesn't have to develop too much at all. He looks like he's ready to go. He's one of the most complete players to ever enter a draft, period. Do it all really well right away. But Jalen Green, 3 times more athletic, maybe 4 times more athletic. And then you got Evan Mobley, who's just quite frankly someone who's going to help teams win. Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be a winning franchise if they continue to build around him properly. And allow him to make his mistakes and spread his wings. Give it about 3 years. He'll be an all-star. They'll be a playoff team. And I don't think it'll even take that long if everybody else on that team gets better. But I am more than convinced now that they just drafted their Akeem Olajuwon, their Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, their Anthony Davis, their Joel Embiid. The Cleveland Cavaliers just drafted one. And I was high on him when I first started doing, homework on him. And I was high on him throughout the process of the free agency when I started doing even more homework. I remember that I said in one video that he moves very, very, very fast. His legs move very, very fast. And he can move his feet faster than most, and he can facilitate better than most. I also remember saying in another video after that Scotty Barnes was the only player who could move really, really fast and could pass the rock that I seen in this draft, which was totally off. That's not at all accurate. Sometimes I say things in haste without thinking about everything else I need to be thinking about. It's too much. But what I'm saying to you is this. Evan Mobley, if I were to do this all over again, he would be the first pick I'd take. And I think Jalen would actually be second. I think I would take Curry third today. Today, I'm taking Cade third, not necessarily because of any other reason than this. I look at it like this. You got, I don't want to say the wrong name, but Jalen Green is your Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, period. Leave it at that. Let's just, for the sake of it, I'm going to say he's that. And if he doesn't manifest into that level of greatness, no one here will be that surprised at all. But at the same time, if he does elevate to that level of greatness, I'm not surprised by that either. So let's say, got Michael Jordan, Kobe, set them aside. In Cade Cunningham, you got Luka Doncic. Okay, because that's who he's comparable to in my opinion. He's Luka. Set him aside. Then you got Anthony Davis, Kareem, KG. That's how I look at Evan Mobley. KG, Anthony Davis, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar-ish. Now, nobody's Kareem, but I'm saying with the length and for this era, that's the type of player that you're hoping he... Anthony Davis, that's a better way to put it. For me, knowing those players are who they are, logically your mind is going to say go with Michael Jordan, go with Kobe Bryant, right? I'm not going to do that because I understand that length transcends all with these particular skill sets. Unless you know Michael Jordan's going to turn into Michael Jordan, who accomplishes the things that Michael does. If you're just taking his skill set and his body type and maybe something that's a little more elusive for today's game, more passing ability, stuff like that, just unless I know he's going to be able to accomplish the things that Kobe and Mike did, his skill sets and their body is not to be taken over Anthony Davis, Kevin Garnett, etc. Does that make any sense to you guys? If I'm assuming they're all elite on the same level, if they're all this Hall of Fame out of catastrophic type of, out of worldly rather, type of talent, if I'm thinking they're like that, Magic Johnson, Luka Doncic, just understand what I'm saying. Big guy, not overly athletic as far as Cade Cunningham, but can do all things. I'm not taking him before Anthony Davis, Kevin Garnett either, because I can find those guys. I can find MJ and Luka quicker than I can find AD and KG. Do you understand what I'm saying? Those guys don't come around very often. If they do come around, they're either super great or just don't pan out at all. I could think of many players who were long and tall that they did it, and other guys that obviously didn't. But most of the time when they do it, out of here. Like, even a guy like Rudy Gobert, you can look at Rudy Gobert. Is anybody going to confuse Rudy Gobert with being the most talented basketball player? Hell no, you don't think that. What you know him to be is a gifted mentality type of defensive player with length that's comparable to anything you've ever seen. And he's able to use that length, and the team that he's on has been able to utilize him to where his strengths are focused on, his weaknesses practically don't even get any shine because of the shooting surrounding him. The team is built around him properly. As a result, they're happy with him. He's made the Supermax. He's made a bunch of all-star teams. He's blocked a lot of shots. Defensive player of the year, if I'm not mistaken. All that. Evan Mobley's better than him. He's better than him. He's better in every way. Every way. He has to develop into that. But if you're looking at Rudy Gobert and you say Rudy Gobert made $207 million and you're happy with that contract, which I think everybody in Utah is, then you understand that Evan Mobley is simply a greater player than that. And so, for me, if I look at him and I say, well, he's greater than Rudy Gobert, he has that type of body type. He can help me offensively, he can stretch the floor. He has faster feet than most players his height, if not all players his height. I understand those players are more plentiful than maybe they were a couple years ago, because you think about your guys like Bol, think about your guys that are already there, who are big and tall. Some more are coming into the league. I think about a guy like Christian Wood comes to mind quickly. Players like that. The guy in OKC, Pokashevsky, I can't say his name, but he's another one of those super long players, can do everything, fill up the box score. They're out there. But none of them, and I mean none of them, have been accused of being the playmaker that Evan Mobley is, making other people better with his passing ability. Those guys don't have that. Even AD doesn't have that in his game like that. Doesn't. AD can pass. We've seen him pass. He's not a ball stopper. He's not somebody who can't make plays. But you're not looking at AD and saying, okay, I'm picking him up because I know we don't need a facilitator if he's on the floor. He's like a Jokic. We don't need a facilitator. He's like Chris Webber, Vlade Divac. You don't need passers, pass first point guards when a guy like that is on your team. Evan Mobley's one of those. He should be able to help to facilitate the offense with him and Josh Okogie. Isaac Okoro. That's what I'm trying to say for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Those two off point guard players are going to facilitate the ball for them so that guys like Darius Garland and Sexton can shoot the ball. If AD were on that team, he would need a point guard. That's how real that is. That's how I'm starting to understand Evan Mobley's strengths. His strengths sometimes above some of the guys that you leave in your mind as the pinnacle of the position. For example, like I say, Anthony Davis, I'm bringing him up again because I used to tell people like Anthony Davis stretch the floor. Obviously you want to bring him because he could block a shot on one side and go down the other side and catch a lob. Evan Mobley can do that. Evan Mobley, he's not Anthony Davis light. If anything, he has as much upside as Anthony Davis. Ball handling skills, he played point for a long time. The dude played guard for a long time. Evan Mobley and Anthony Davis. And some numbers that really stood out that I was watching I was watching one of these videos on Evan Mobley, and they were telling us how comparable they are in terms of blocking shots versus causing fouls. Those two players are the pinnacle for that in basketball. Anthony Davis and Evan Mobley block more shots and make fewer fouls than anybody else playing basketball today. Everybody else, it's like a couple blocks versus a couple fouls. Those dudes, couple blocks versus like 1.5 foul. They never foul and they block everything. So, to me, I love Cade Cunningham and all that he does. A complete player, 6'8" point guard, can facilitate, do all these different things. It's literally an all-star walking into the league right away. Jalen Green, super athlete. Giselle could turn into the next Kobe Bryant. Maybe somebody who's more capable physically. In fact, there's no maybe about it. He's definitely more capable of doing more with less energy. Because that's just genetics. Simple as that. Genetics, baby. So you don't want to pass on him. But for me, man, Mobley's the guy. He's the guy. He was the guy then, honestly. I was just not certain about Cade Cunningham being can't miss. But now that I've done a little more homework on Cade Cunningham, I put him in a vacuum and say, okay, he's Luka Magic Johnson. But Luka Magic Johnson, with all due respect, are not 7'1" with 7'8" wingspan. Like, no. I guess the moral of the story is the floor for a guy like Evan Mobley is much higher than the floor for the other players in that draft. That's what I'm saying to you guys. At his absolute worst, he's a shooting version of Tristan Thompson. That's still a $100 million player. won a championship and still in the league right now, even though he's past his prime. Why? Because his ability to guard players smaller than him, his ability to rebound the ball with high motor, his ability to block shots and do things like that. Particularly for Tristan Thompson, run out to the three-point line and guard people that he shouldn't be able to guard, and then run back into the paint and get that same board or what have you. That elusiveness and that ability is something that I believe Evan has. He definitely has it. So they're just gonna have to continue to keep him healthy, work him into the equation. I did go on record saying that I don't think he should be starting right away. When I thought that he was possibly going to be drafted to a different team, say the Rockets take him at 2, I didn't feel comfortable about him starting this year and having big minutes because he would be the only rim protector, and I didn't think his body was quite ready for that type of load yet, and probably still don't. But I think the difference is now I'm totally lobbying for him to get bigger minutes because I see him as a starting 4 with the security of having Allen behind him blocking shots, another fantastic length unicorn type player. So when you think about Jared Allen is already one of the premier shot blockers in basketball. His body list for people that he's blocked is legendary. Some of the best players in the game today have tried to dunk on this man and have failed miserably. So if ever there was a player that I would want to line Evan Mobley up with in the starting lineup in his rookie season, yeah, Allen's at the top of that list. Him, again, Gobert, those are the type of guys I want Evan Mobley to play with. If he has to start at center, we ain't starting. We're going to sit him for a whole year and bring him off the bench if he's going to be the 5. But if he's the 4 and you got a real shot blocker behind him, oh, that's money bags, baby. That's money bags. So I love that. So, yeah, spent a lot of time on that player. Another thing that I've thought about was Scotty Barnes, just continuing to do homework on him. Love his game. Love the place that he landed. Everything that I said and felt about Scotty early on, still feel it to this second. He like Evan Mobley, is just an extra terrestrial defensive player. Someone who can move their feet really, really fast, guard players that are smaller than him, pass the rock better than anybody else. You could totally see why Evan Mobley went 3 and 4, because if you look at their strengths and their weaknesses, they're kind of comparable to one another. Obviously, Evan is much longer and taller, but Scotty is an amazing passer. Scotty's an amazing defender. Scotty's super, super fast. Scotty's super big. He's 7'2" wingspan as well. He can be disruptive. He'll average a lot of blocks and steals. Those two players, boy, oh boy, if I could be a GM and I had a chance to start a franchise, I would love to start it off with those two guys. Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley, that's a good start for me. I would love to have those two players, and I'm sure most would. But that's what it's about, man. Just paying attention to some of these players at the top of the draft and knowing for a fact that maybe I should have did a little more homework. But I said that in those videos. You know that. Who else, man? Now, there are some players I haven't done enough homework on that I'm looking forward to learning about. Alperen Sengun, I'm not sure how to say his name. Houston Rockets. Y'all know the Houston Rockets are one of my favorite teams right now. On paper, they float my boat. So I'm hopeful that I can see a little more from him, and I'll come back and talk to you guys about that guy. Who else? There's so many others, man. Jonathan Kuminga is somebody that I need to do a little more homework on. I think he could potentially be something special for the Golden State Warriors, but they're going to have to create some space for him, because him coming off the bench, you get away with that for the first year, but after that, nah, you're not going to want him down there. You're going to want him starting, rather. You're going to want him out there. So Golden State Warriors are in a weird space, man. It looks like they're trying to head into a more power athletic versus shooting type of team rather than just being a pure three-point shooting team. They have addressed some things athletically that I really like, man. Picking up that guy, picking up Moody, making sure that Wiseman's coming back healthy this year. From what I understand, he should be ready for training camp. I forgot about Wiseman. He's not from this draft, but I forgot about Wiseman. He's another one of those guys where if he bounces back from this knee injury very well, you tend to forget the agility of a player like him. He can put the ball on the floor. He can shoot the ball. He can do a lot of things. He's a hyper-gifted offensive talent. The thing that turned me off about James Wiseman in his rookie season was the fact that he didn't rebound very well. You can't be that damn tall and only pull down like 4 and 3 rebounds a game. I hate that. I loathe that. But that doesn't mean that a player doesn't go on to have an amazing career, and it doesn't mean he won't stay that way, that he will stay that way. Some do. We know Brook Lopez, he's like that. He doesn't rebound the ball
good at all. But you're not going to confuse him with being a scrub or anything. You're happy to have him on your team. So I'd like to think that James Wiseman playing with Draymond Green will learn how to rebound so much more effectively in the NBA. He's too tall, too long to be averaging anything less than 80 rebounds a game. Even in his rookie season, I was very disappointed in his rebounding numbers. He's going to have to up those if he wants to be respected by the big fellas like Shaquille O'Neal, who's going to have something to say about him soon enough if he doesn't already. Rebound the ball, man, I promise you'll be just fine because the offensive talent for James Wiseman is clearly there. Him and Jonathan Kuminga, you got a front court right there. You guys are set. I know it. I know I have to do more homework on Jonathan Kuminga, but I've seen enough from him to know that he can jump out the gym and get some easy buckets, just dunking the ball and catching lobs. Easy buckets. So that part is easy for me. I think the Golden State Warriors are in a very good spot with a good combination of old players and young players that can help them have a open timeline. If they want to go for it right now, of course they can do that. If things don't work out, their future is going to be fine after their stars leave. So Golden State, I'm warming up to their situation right now. I am. I love what they've done over the last 3 years, putting together some of these players that they got on this roster. And those players are only going to get better. So, yeah, underrated scouting situation up there in Golden State. They've done a good job. What else? So much, man. We're already 26 minutes in. I only talked about a couple players. But that's the reality of my mindset, man. I could talk about this stuff all day long, and I thank you guys for tuning in with me. So I guess I'll cut it here, man. There's more. And if I come up with it, I'll just turn the camera back on and holler at y'all. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching.